Good afternoon, everyone. Bill Phillips from Prince George Daily News here on our weekly panel that we have every week, surprisingly enough. And joining me today is Chuck Nisbett and Mackenzie Kerr. Mackenzie's good to see Mackenzie back. She had taken a little bit of a hiatus from this panel during the provincial or the federal election. She was working on a Green Party candidate's campaign down at the coast. So maybe we start off with Mackenzie just telling us how that was, what that, how was the experience and your thoughts on the election?
Sure.
Seeing it from the inside of a campaign, I guess, is a little different.
Yeah. No, it was really cool to be in the background this time and not be the candidate. That was a really beneficial experience. And I had a really good time down in Victoria. Yeah, we had a great candidate and we had a lot of fun and learned a lot. And it was definitely hard on the Greens, as you all know. So that's no shocker that I'm saying that. We learned a lot about what we could do next time and a lot of reflecting that we have to do moving forward to do a bit of a rebuild. So yeah, but we did the best we could on the ground. And we even had Annamie Paul come out in a last minute trip to Victoria, which was really exciting. And we had 14 candidates, all from the island and the lower mainland, and anyone who could kind of get to Victoria in that short of notice come to meet her for the press conference. So we pulled a lot of things together in a really quick amount of time. And it was really neat that I got to meet her. And yeah, it was a really awesome experience. Did lots of door knocking. Green support on the island is pretty strong, even with everything going on. So that was really cool to be in a, super strong Green support bubble. They were 3% shy in that riding last time. So we were pushing really hard. And yeah, no, it was a great time. And I'm hoping to bring all those skills back that I learned back to Prince George so that we can, do it again here and get more people out to vote, increase democracy, get young people involved in politics. The candidate was 23 in Victoria, which was amazing. So yeah, right, I'm happy to be back on the panel weekly.
And any insights on Annamie Paul's resignation and what's going on there and what's going to happen? It sounds like it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of inside information. They're having a lot of in-camera meetings right now, trying to figure out everything. And I only know what I see in the news and the articles that I read. So yeah, there's still those internal struggles with, just people wanting to build the party in a different way. And, all of the technicalities of how a leader steps down and what that looks like. So I don't have any more information than you would from the news articles. And yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for it to smooth itself out, and so that we can rebuild and do a lot of reflection and focus on what we can do as a party for next time. And I mean, a little bit of this has happened to some other Green parties around the world, which is optimistic for us because it means that we can, pick ourselves back up just like they did in, I forget if it was Australia or New Zealand, but they had a little bit of an issue keeping their party super strong, and then they came back even stronger, and now they have seats in the House. So I am optimistic that we can also do the same. And we are a global movement. We have Greens all across the world, so we can look to places where Greens are succeeding, learn a lot from them. We're not on our own. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Right on. Keeping with federal politics, it was declared September 30th. Sorry, was declared Truth and Reconciliation Day, and the Prime Minister asked everyone to reflect on the legacy of residential schools and how we treat Indigenous people in this country, and then jetted off to Tofino for a personal day with his family. Chuck, your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm kind of shocked, actually. To actually announce or create a Truth and Reconciliation Day and have it actually happen, and then not to take part in it in any way and scoot off to the edge of the country and walk the beach, that was amazing. I was actually totally shocked that happened. I mean, I think the Truth and Reconciliation Day was a fantastic idea. There was a lot going on here in town, and I went down to Lightly Memorial Park, and there were probably 300 people down there at um, the band shell down there, and it was quite interesting, and a lot of people learned a lot about what had happened, and a lot of people told stories about how things had affected their family over the last couple of generations. And it was interesting. It was quite interesting. I didn't stay for the whole thing, but it was quite interesting to listen to some of the stories and find out what really happened to some of those people in the different residential schools, and also how much is not known about what happened to some of the people that were there. They just disappeared, and nobody has a clue where they are. Though we're starting to get an idea now, unfortunately. So I'm shocked that Trudeau would just take off throughout this whole thing. And I mean, yeah, sure. He probably needed a holiday with his family. I'm sure we did too. I don't know why he couldn't wait till the weekend like everyone else. It makes no sense to me. I mean, yeah. Once again, I'm stumped by our prime minister. But the actual day itself was a great idea, and I think it opened the eyes of quite a few people when they heard what really happened and heard some of the stories of the survivors and their families here. And I think it's going to make a difference in the coming months when more and more of what's happened here in Canada is going to come forward with the ever-growing number of missing children showing up. It's going to be quite interesting to see what happens there and just how everybody reacts to that. I mean, I think people have got to accept that there's a responsibility that has to be dealt with by everybody. It's not something, it was in the past, but it's not something you can just push away. It's something that we've all got to really deal with and think about, and make sure nothing like that would ever possibly happen again.
Mackenzie, what does this say about our newly elected prime minister, although he's not really new to us? There's all kinds of criticism that his tone deaf move and all that kind of stuff. So what was your reaction when you heard that he was in Tofino walking on the beach?
I mean, I wasn't really surprised, considering he's the prime minister that got away with blackface and brownface multiple times. So, I mean, we shouldn't really expect any more at this point in time. We haven't seen him show us that he truly cares about these issues to show up. And, people will fight that. If Tracy was here, she would probably disagree with me, right? But I mean, yeah, we're good. She'll come next time and dispute it. But I mean, that's my opinion. And I think a lot of people hold that opinion. It was a really great day, and I wish that he could have participated in some of the celebrations that happened that day, because he missed out. I mean, that's all we can say, right? He made that decision, and it even said in his schedule that he had meetings in Ottawa, and then at the last minute it changed. And so, wasn't a family emergency, because we saw the photos of him standing on a beach. It looks really bad, in the optics for him. And there was probably a lot of damage control that they tried to do after that, but he's still prime minister. And we didn't see, much pushback other than talking about it in the news. So I wish that we could hold our politicians to a higher standard and say to them, hey, if you truly care about these issues, you should make time in your schedule to show up for this day that you want credit for creating in your government. You know, and I definitely think that that's something that we should ask our politicians to uphold when they sign on to the job. You know, and family emergencies, of course, that makes sense, but this wasn't that. So I also enjoyed the great celebrations in Prince George. Well, not celebrations, but the great ceremonies in Clayton Park, and, you know, participated in the drumming circle in the afternoon. And we had to be, you know, they canceled them at the last minute because of COVID, but then I know that some people were still going. And so I think that they just didn't want thousands of people showing up because of our COVID numbers, which was probably a good idea. So for those that did show up, you know, it was a really beautiful ceremony, and we got to learn a lot and hear from some incredible speakers, hear some beautiful musicians, watch the children dance in near the front of the bandstand there and drum. So yeah, it's a really great experience for a lot of people that don't know a lot about it to go and learn about it. So yeah, and I was happy to attend and listen and learn. It wasn't a day for, you know, politicians to take the stage and speak about how much they care about these issues. It was a day to listen to survivors and listen to people sharing their stories. So I was happy to be able to do that.
Yeah, you mentioned Trudeau's itinerary had listed him as being on personal meetings for that day. To me, that's one of the more problematic. I shouldn't say more, but to me, that's also a problematic part of this whole story, because that sort of indicates to me that someone in his office knew it wouldn't look good if we said, "Oh, he's off on a holiday day on that day." So they kind of fudged the wording, personal meetings, and I guess if you want to, you know, sort of nitpick it, I guess personal meetings can be walking on the beach with his wife, I suppose. But you know, you hope that the prime minister's office is better than that, and that they're not you know, playing those little word games with people. And if he's taking a personal day, just say he's taking a personal day. You know, in my mind, he can choose to not avoid or to avoid ceremonies all he wants, but he shouldn't be you know, trying to pull over the wool over the public's eye and saying he's doing something that he's not. To me, that's a big part of the issue as well. And same as, you know, like everybody said, is he created this day, and the government, you know, promoted that you know, it's a day of reflection. It's not a holiday, not a day to say, "Wahoo, I got off work." And then what does he do? He goes, "Wahoo, I got off work." You know, so yeah, I don't know. And any issue to, you know, he did apologize, Chuck. So are these apologies from the prime minister starting to get a little hollow? I don't even think he said he's sorry. He just said he regrets it, which basically means you regret getting caught. What do you think?
And that's exactly how I took it. He regrets getting caught again. You know, how many times is he going to regret things? You know, I mean, he seems to regret an awful lot. Maybe it's time to think before you act, and then you won't regret so much stuff. I mean, that's what Mama told me. I mean, yeah. I don't understand why he keeps putting himself in these positions. He seems to think he's invincible and just gonna keep bouncing back, but it's not gonna last forever.
You know, a lot of people in these positions have the mentality of, I'll just ask for forgiveness later. And I think that that is a huge problem within politics, is they think that they can get away with it and then just figure it out after and deal with it after, because, you know, it'll be easier to do that than be upfront about it, which is part of why we need to change who we elect.
Yeah, because essentially he is getting away with it, right? This will die down in a week or two, and everybody will move on. So I guess it's a strategy that works. So Mackenzie, you put you nailed it on the head there. Is like the way to change that is to elect different people, but which we didn't do this time around at all.
Yeah, not at all. We changed a couple people, but we didn't change any seat numbers. So, yeah.
Yeah, literally a couple of people. That was it.
Yeah. So, and that's the other part from Trudeau, and I guess part of this, you know, what he's done is it shows or it can show or indicates an arrogance, right? I can do whatever the heck I want, and nobody can do anything to me, and that's. And to me, I saw that right after the election when he talked about how he has a mandate now. And in my view, he doesn't have a mandate because if you take the amount of people that were eligible to vote, and then the amount that actually voted, and then the amount that actually voted Liberal, they secured something like 19% of the entire vote. So to me, that's not a mandate for anything.
Well, I think it's less than what he had before, isn't it?
It probably is. I didn't figure out the 2019 election what his mandate was there, but and to me that's I've always been a little frightened about politicians who say they have a mandate, because to me that's double speak for I can do what I want now.
Yeah.
And that's my fear. So Mackenzie, how do we stop or how do we hold politicians to account once they're in power and they got a mandate? I guess with a minority government, it's a little bit easier, but I think that'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, we have to get the public interested in politics because, the people that are already making noise are already calling their MPs and elected officials and going to protests. But it seems to be the same people, right? We need to get the majority of people, the people that didn't vote, to, pressure the politicians to actually follow through on what they're saying. And a lot of people don't think that that's possible. They have given up. They're apathetic and they don't think that there's any point. And that is part of why I'm interested in politics, because every second person it seems I talk to is apathetic and doesn't want to talk about politics, because it either always starts an argument or they just couldn't care less because they're fed up and don't think that anything will change at all. So we have to show them that, change is possible, that if you hold people to account, it actually works, that some elected officials are good and can actually, do what you are hoping that they will do for you. And I think that we can just, ideally we have a different voting system, which I just repeat like a broken record all the time, because I think that is one of the main ways that we can change who we elect and how the public can have more power in their vote and more power in holding politicians to account. But in the meantime, we need to, drag our friends and family that aren't super political to city council chambers, to, live legislature recordings to show them what's actually happening and what these people that we're paying to represent us are saying in the House, so that they get interested. And those are often very boring, but we somehow need to get them involved so that we can have more people to hold them to account, because it's not going to change if it's the same people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very much what we need to do. I know Tracy likes to talk about how the whole humanities program has been taking a back seat in schools, but I remember when I was in school, which, yes, it was a long time ago, we used to have to attend council meetings and things like that. And we used to have to watch the government house recordings on TV and, understand what was going on. And they don't have to do that anymore. And it makes no sense. I mean, you have no idea of what government is actually doing unless you choose later on to study it in college or something. And I think everybody should have that idea instilled in them of how government works and what it takes to be part of government, and get the idea that if you want to do something, you can be part of that government too. And I don't think that's, I don't think kids are shown that in school anymore. I don't think they get that enough. And okay, some of those meetings were extremely boring, like extremely boring. We passed notes and we got through it. We had an understanding of what happened, right? You've got to get the kids there to see it. And yeah, some of them will go, oh, that's so boring. I don't even care what happens with government. And some will go, there's an idea. You could do this and you can make a difference. So let's give them a chance to do that, maybe
I think that we
give
can
them the
make
idea.
politics a little bit less boring if the people who they go and see when they go to the legislature or the council chambers or the House of Commons, it would be less boring if they saw themselves reflected in the people who were speaking, because it's all mainly old white men. It's very boring because that doesn't look like a teenager in high school. That doesn't look like, someone that is in an equity seeking group, or they don't see themselves reflected, so they think it's not a welcoming place. So it's really tough. It's, chicken or the egg. Do we bring all the children to the school first, or from the school to the chambers first, and then they look at everyone and say, well, I'm not welcome here, inside their head, this is boring and I see no one who looks like me? Or do we change what the makeup is of the elected officials? And then, I think we have to do it at the same time. We have to have people on both sides saying, I am going to run for office because the decisions that are being made are not reflecting my opinions and my values. So we need more diverse candidates, people from different backgrounds, people, that are super involved in the community and know what's going on. And then we need teachers actively bringing their students, in and teaching in classes, not just bringing them in, because that's really tough with COVID right now. And watching Zoom recordings of council meetings, it cannot be super invigorating either, but they need to teach it in a way, have guest speakers come in, that kind of stuff. We're going to have to attack this at all angles, much like all of our issues, right? Climate change, everything. We need to attack it from all angles at the same time. We can't do this, in a slow step process, because it's not going to change in time for us to, by the time my life is over, we need to do it all at once. So.
Yeah, as someone who spent decades covering city council meetings, I can attest that some of them are pretty boring. Some are pretty exciting. I've been to a few that are pretty thrilling. And Chuck, you talk about educating kids in high school. I don't think we got that. I think I'm lucky in that I grew up in a family that was very political. So for me, to me, it was growing up. It was just natural. You pay attention to these things, right? And yeah, it's frustrating sometimes because I talk to people who aren't, and they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. And yet you ask them, well, do you want your taxes to go up? No. City council should do something. Well, people don't make that connection that what's happening at that city council table will impact you. Maybe your street won't get paved, your taxes will go up, or if it's school board or something like that, well maybe your kid won't be able to play badminton or whatever it is. These things, they do affect people in a real world way. It doesn't seem like it a lot of times when they're sitting there spouting off bylaw numbers, but it does happen. We have a couple of comments on here. And Joseph, when we were talking about Trudeau, which is why I even mention him. I don't think she likes him. But Jen Radway asked a question about does anybody know what the other party leaders were doing on September 30th? I don't recall off the top of my head, but I'm sure if the other ones were taking a personal day, the media would have jumped on them as well. So I'm assuming that
I can mention a couple.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in our Green Party leader. It was the day, I believe it was the day that she resigned. If I forget, yeah, I think so, or it was very, very close to. And so we didn't actually see a statement from her on that day, and I was disappointed about that. And I don't know what she was doing the day of. I didn't see any photos of her somewhere, but I did see Jugmeet at some rallies in Vancouver, I believe, and I didn't see any photos of O'Toole.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think Annemie Paul probably gets a pass on that, given that everything that was going on with her.
I mean, I wouldn't give her a pass, but maybe some might, but I wouldn't. I would say that, regardless, you can take an hour out of your day to go down to whichever city you were in. They were holding an event.
There was something going on, that's for sure.
So, yeah.
Switching topics a little bit. The other big news out of the last couple of weeks is the release of the two Michaels, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig from Chinese prison after Meng Wanzhou signed what do they call it? Deferred prosecution agreement with the United States, which we learned from the SNC Lavalin is pretty much, it's a get out of jail free card if you're rich. Because something tells me if I get pulled over for speeding, that if I want a deferred prosecution agreement, I'm going to get laughed out of the court. But anyways, they have been released and brought back to Canada. There's still Canadians in China who are being held justly or unjustly. Remains to be that's questionable. I think there's certainly one Schellenberg who, right after the Meng Wanzhou thing started, they upped his sentence to a death sentence. Even though he had been sentenced to prison for drug trafficking, I think. So, it's pretty apparent that was another one of the retaliatory things. So now that the two Michaels are home, where should Canada go when it comes to China? Should we try to get back into good graces and go back to let's all get along and start doing business with China, or should we start disentangling ourselves from China? Chuck, you want to go?
China is huge. China has a giant impact on global business, and it's really hard to ignore. For Canada to say, yeah, okay, move along, China, we're not going to worry about you, is a huge mistake, because of the power that China has over the global economy. And even though China's human rights record is spotty at best, Canada has to find a way to deal with China effectively on an economic basis, and also try to find a way to influence China in those human rights areas. I think before the whole business with the American, what did we do exactly? It was like we held somebody for America or for the USA to show them that, yes, we're on your side and we're going to do what you want. And then ultimately in the end we went, so you've talked to her and it's okay and we're going to get to go home now. So she takes off.
Like a Trudeau apology. We're sorry and okay, everything's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. I mean, that's basically what it was. I mean, she got 3 years of house arrest, right? And then they went, okay, yeah, that's good. You can move along now. No big deal. Canada has to find a way to make an impact on China. They've done it before. They had dealt quite effectively with China on some human rights issues before, but I think they're back at ground zero with this one. It's start all over again. We found a way to get back at you when you had her, and now we're gonna say, well, the gloves are off and we got to do whatever we want to do. You have to wait your turn and work your way back through this. So it's going to be a long fight again, I think, for Canada to make any differences with China on a human rights basis. And at the same time, they cannot ignore that economic power that is China, that is consuming more and more of the Western world's goods and produce. At the same time, it's selling more and more of their goods to the Western world. So it's a tough situation to try and change things and make a difference with them, but we have to find a way to smooth the ground and work together and move ahead. There just has to be a way to do it, because what is China now? 1.5 billion?
Something
That's
like that, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of people. I mean, I think the only country that's bigger is India, which is over 2 billion now, I believe. So, you know, that's between the two countries, that's nearly half of the world population.
Mhm.
So it's a very, very powerful country to deal with, and we've got a lot of work to do. But I have no ideas how we go about this. There are way bigger brains than mine trying to figure that out.
Mackenzie, over to you. We need to, Chuck doesn't have any ideas on how to deal with China, so it's over to you to solve the China problem.
Oh, perfect. No problem. It's okay. I know a lot of very smart people who are in international affairs. So.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Chuck was saying. You know, they're a world superpower right now, and we can't just say we're not going to deal with you anymore. We have to figure out a way to, you know, call them out on human rights violations, but also, you know, I'm happy that the Michaels have come home. It's really devastating that it came down to that long of them being there, and all because we were holding, you know, the Huawei CEO for the States. Like, it was, I don't know all of the details. So yeah, there's a lot of other people that do, but it's just really, you know, upsetting that it's come to this, and that I'm happy that they're home, but I wish that we could, you know, work on international affairs and make sure that this doesn't happen again. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if we're there yet.
Yeah, for me, I hope that we kind of keep China at a distance now that this is over, and just sort of tread carefully. And I agree. It's, you know, it's we can't just say, okay, we're not dealing with China anymore. That just isn't going to happen. But I don't think we need to be as exuberant as we've been in the last 10 years of trying to do business with China, because it's shown that you know, they don't care what anybody else thinks, and certainly not what Canada thinks, right? And so, yeah, and regrettably, we're in a tough situation that we're stuck between the two superpowers. So we probably have to choose one side or another. And that's a tough one, because it doesn't matter which one we choose, because the U.S. can be bullies too, right? You know, we've run into that. So it's tough. But anyways, we're moving along here. So we're doing a little bit of shorter show today because there's only 3 of us. But we'll wrap up now, coming up on 45 minutes. So that's still pretty good. And we'll give everybody the usual parting words. Let's start with Chuck. Anything anybody want to plug, or any parting words?
I just want to talk a little bit about our COVID situation in the north here. We're in a rough spot. You know, we've got multiple outbreaks at the hospital. We've got outbreaks in outlying communities around Prince George, and the numbers are just screaming up here in northern BC. And we've just got to get smart, people, and just stay home, back away, and try and shut this thing down. Everybody get your shots, and wear your masks, wash your hands, and just go back to the basics. Let's try and shut this thing down again. And we were doing pretty good, and it's flared up again. So we've just got to remember the way to fight it. And as the numbers come up on the people being vaccinated, hopefully this will all shut down. But it's not a guarantee. This could be for a while yet. So let's just keep pushing to get rid of it.
Mackenzie, parting comments or follow up on Chuck or whatever?
Sure. Well, I echo what Chuck was saying about COVID. Wear your mask and be smart. We see that a lot of people are getting sick right now. I know that they finally came up with a online COVID testing, which was good because now you can do it online. You don't have to wait on hold forever. So that's really good news for us. There is a cold going around right now, cold and flu. So I know a couple people that have tested negative and it was a cold. So, wash your hands and stay really safe right now. Make sure you stay home if you're feeling sick, and wear your mask. And I would encourage people to go to the farmers market. I went last Saturday for Fall Fest and it was really wonderful. Keep your mask on just because there's so many people out there, and grab some local vegetables and spend some time outside. We're going to get snow soon, so enjoy the fall colors a little bit longer. And I know it's the swear word. I'm sorry. I'm swearing on live Facebook. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be back and talking about local issues on our Wednesday call. And hopefully we have a couple more speakers next week and we can, talk about local issues. That's why we're here, and hopefully encourage more people to be interested in current events and politics a little bit more. So.
Absolutely. And I'll echo that about, COVID, get your vaccines. And, and I look back, when all this started, and there was a lot of people talking about, herd immunity, once herd immunity hits, and where's that at? About 75%. Well, we're at 80% of people double vaccinated, and the numbers are as high as they've ever been. So to me, it's a stark reminder of the Delta variant. And you can just imagine if the Delta variant was going through our population a year ago before we had vaccines, we would be in, it would be like a disaster movie. You look at Alberta, where they're overwhelmed right now. If we didn't have 80% of the people vaccinated, the numbers in our hospital would probably be 10 times what they are now with this Delta variant. So yeah, go out, get vaccinated, wash your hands, wear your mask, all that kind of fun stuff. It should be second nature to us by now. So let's just do it, and then we can get on the other side of this COVID sometime, hopefully soon. And on that note, we'll thank Chuck Nisbett and Mackenzie Kerr for taking the time out of the day to have this chat, and for everyone out there who took a little time to watch a little bit or all of this today. Thank you very much too. And we will be back next week.